Do you think maybe in some ways, whoever controls the world, the governments, the big corporations, they're just running a company, like you're running a company and I'm running a company, and if we were controlling the world, we might run the company in a similar way?
I believe I'm a far more moral person than some of the people. So some of the large companies and the people behind them that control the money, I feel like they're happier to flush human lives down the toilet than I ever would be. So when you look at some countries, Saudi Arabia as example, that's run like a business, and the leaders and the people sit around, they think, okay, we have this many resources, we have this much space, how do we best make our company profitable? How do we make it safe? How do we make everyone inside of it happy? So as with real companies, I've had good bosses and I've had bad bosses. I think the world as a whole is overwhelmingly, unfortunately, controlled by evil money. And I see that with the wars that happen, the people who die every day, the lockdowns and some of the restrictions they try to put on people, how little they care about the little guy. I would be a far more moral leader. I wouldn't send young men to die in a pointless war. I wouldn't finance wars, try to start them for profit, benefit, nothing. If I could end all war and be financially broke myself, there's a button right here I could press, good, I'll live on the streets for the rest of my life. Whereas this clearly isn't the attitude of some of the people at the top. They're happy to enrich themselves, enrich their families, and who goes to die? The poor people. Poor people go and die, and of course now I have some money, but I am essentially a poor person with lots of money. I'm a working class guy, I come from a council estate. It's me and my people who have to march off to their wars and go and fight and die. I said this the other day, I was naming the number of children certain UK politicians have, numbers of sons. I can't remember the exact names of the exact kids. I Googled them on the spot. I don't know off the top of my head, but it was like, this minister, this member of parliament, all have sons aged 17 to 25. And I said, well, unless their sons are going with me, I wouldn't go, because go fight your own bloody wars. If it's so important like you harp on about it in the news all the time, or stand in the House of Parliament and lecture people about the importance of these military operations, good, send your own kids. But they never do. I think I know the statistic, during the entire US intervention in Iraq, of 545 sitting members of Congress, only one had a child who was in the services who even stepped foot in the country of Iraq, which is terrifying. So I think that leaders should lead their own soldiers into battle. I'm too moral. I don't want to run the world the way that everyone else runs it.
Do you think, because I think about this a lot, because the reason I want to know who runs the world is because I am in the world.
Yes.
And therefore their decisions affect me. And I agree with you, the best thing you can do to rebel is to get really rich and build your own infrastructure, an ecosystem of which you are the leader of. But still, those powerful people, whoever they are, make decisions which could ruin my life tomorrow. So I feel like I owe it to myself to figure out where it goes and what got them there if I want to create change. And sometimes I think there's just some evil people and their family lineage of thousands of years were evil people.
Yes.
And then other times, like politics, I think some people go in with good intent, and then power corrupts, and for them to fit within the system, it changes them. Have you got any thoughts?
Yeah, well, it's not just power that corrupts. I think it's actually a lack of understanding of the system. So if we take the American Republican primaries, for example, a lot of people were harping on about Vivek Ramaswamy, who I don't dislike. I like him. But the reason I was Trump should be president guy, not Vivek, is because Trump is now prepared for the enemy he's facing. He was put into office. He thought, I'm the president. I can do what I want to help the country. And he found himself, remember Russiagate, Russia rigged the election? He was fighting this in court for 3.5 years. And it's like, oh, well, okay, it turns out Russia didn't need the election. Oh, time's up. And then he was out. I feel like Vivek could have been blindsided with some nonsense claim. I mean, for example, he's of Indian heritage. Okay, he becomes president. Maybe India interfered with the election. He'd be sitting there for 3.5 years, fighting this imaginary case, not getting what he needs to do done. And then it's, all right, time's up, Vivek, get out. So the reason I was a pro-Trump guy is because it's not just about power corrupting people. I think people who get into power maybe don't realize how little power they have in the position that they're fighting for. Whereas Trump now knows the rules. He knows who he's up against. He knows who in the deep state's trying to take him down. So I think he's the most qualified man for the job.